Hey there, this is Lori Coffrin, a member of the High Reliability Teacher Cohort for Proviso East High School, talking about my instructional strategy of guided practice and modeling. So I am a special education teacher, and I teach instructional classes, which are self-contained, special education only. They're cross-categorical, meaning that I have a wide variety of disability types in my classroom. I have learning disabilities, I have emotional disabilities, I have autism, I have some intellectual disabilities, wide variety of student needs that I have to meet and build these students to their highest potential. So even without PCBE as a framework, I have always had to be very adaptive and student-centered simply because my students are so diverse, perhaps more so than in a traditional general education setting. So I found guided practice and modeling to be very effective. Research over and over again consistently indicates that direct instruction is a necessary strategy, one strategy perhaps, but a necessary one for teaching students with disabilities. So guided practice and modeling allows for that direct instruction, and it also allows to integrate student-centered concepts and ideas, and plays very well with the PCBE model, I feel. So in this strategy, what I'll do is the students before receiving this lesson will have taken notes on the content, which they do themselves. That's an independent activity that they do. And students are allowed to use these notes on all our assignments and also all our assessments. So this helps relieve the cognitive load that's associated with executive functioning deficits, which most of my students do deal with to one extent or another. It takes the heavy lifting away from them so they can focus on acquiring the content. So what I will do typically, I'll go to the board. I teach algebra this year, so I will work out a problem step by step. I'll encourage the students to refer to SOPs, both on the walls and in their notes, to remind them of which step would be next. I'll work through several problems, talking them through it the whole time. And after one or two examples, I will start asking for student volunteers to come to the board and work the problem themselves with my coaching them. It gives them a lot of confidence for me to be up with them at the board, sort of prompting them for what step might come next. That seems to be something that helps alleviate some of their discomfort around being up in front of people, working on a novel skill without necessarily a lot of confidence yet that they get it. Many of my students are very self-conscious about being in special education and are loath to put themselves out there, as it were, for fear of being, for fear of not knowing the material and being embarrassed. So, which leads me to, my next point, which is I've always felt like creating, an optimal learning environment as the teacher was really my most important job. Creating an environment that's respectful, that's businesslike, that's calm, that's safe, where every student, has self will to an extent where every student can, utilize their talents and utilize their imagination in order to learn the material, where every student has some options and some choice in terms of the artifacts they create as part of their learning. That is something that's always been very important to me as a teacher, and it plays very well with PCBE as well, in my opinion. So, physical movement is important to me. So having students come up to the board certainly satisfies that. Some students do get restless after working on a task for a while and will need to move around. I found that I can curtail a lot of disruptive behavior from students who perhaps get the material a little bit more quickly by having them serve as teacher assistants. So they, along with me, will circulate and coach once they've completed the assignment, and I am confident that they've mastered it enough that they can serve as like a peer tutor. That builds a lot of self-esteem for the tutors and really gives them a sense of efficacy and gives them a sense of ownership and leadership in the classroom. What else do I want to talk to you about? I also try to create learning activities that relate to the students' real lives. A frequent question you'll get in high school and even in middle school is, how is this going to relate to real life? When will I ever use this? So I try to relate what we're learning to real life experiences students may have had with respect, especially to like sports, probability and statistics and things like that lend themselves very, very well to students that are interested in sports, batting averages, free throw percentage, things like this. So, and I encourage students to look in their real world and think for themselves about, where might you use this? Where might you need to estimate a total? Where might you need to guess how much something might cost, even if you don't know exactly, how much you're dealing with. So I try to give them that sort of practice, translating the skills into novel situations. Those are things that certainly are not native skills that need to be taught, need to be practiced. And I think the students, while they might initially be frustrated by it, come to enjoy it and come to see the value in it. That has been my experience as well.